Marvel's M.O.D.O.K. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. In this video we are going to be reviewing Marvel's M.O.D.O.K, which is the latest animation series to come from Marvel Animation Studios, and this time it is centering on supervillain M.O.D.O.K in his bid to take over the world and be a successful family man as well. Now this was going to be part of its own mini universe, which is going to lead into a crossover event called The Offenders, but Marvel Studios then cancelled all of that, but did allow Marvel's M.O.D.O.K to continue as its own standalone series. Now this uses stop motion puppet style animation, which can get a little bit frustrating, but then you kind of get used to it and you kind of just go with it as well. I really like the fact that they had some Marvel cameo appearances, both from well-known characters as well as lesser known characters in this series, which is really, really great. And I really like the fact that they were focusing on a super villain, so it's a very different type of animation to what you're used to from Marvel Studios, and I'm going to be breaking it all down for you in this TV series review. So from a storyline point of view, the series is actually quite funny and quite inventive at the same time, as it focuses on Marvel's M.O.D.O.K character trying to unsuccessfully take over the world, and as a result of this, his company Aimee has become bankrupt and has been taken over by rival company Grumble. At the same time as this, M.O.D.O.K is suffering a bit of a midlife crisis, which has resulted in his family being separated. The series then explores all of these areas in terms of whether he's going to be successful in trying to take over the world, if he's going to be able to acquire his company Aimee back, and if he's able to rebuild bridges and get his family life back on track as well. Now from a positive point of view, it's really great as it focuses fully on the M.O.D.O.K character. You really know this character inside out. You get to see his evil taking over the world kind of side of him, as well as his business side, as well as his family side as well. And this is a character that's usually just depicted as a bit of a stupid villain type character, but here you really get to know this character inside out, and I really like the fact that they were balancing everything together in terms of his hatred of the Avengers characters, him and his family life, and trying to be a father to his kids as well, trying to have a relationship with his wife as well as the business side of things. And they do a lot of jokes in terms of how the working world is in this series as well. So it feels really, really original, and like I said, it's really great that it's focusing fully on a super villain type character. However, from a negatives point of view, the animation style at points can feel really, really cheap. I mean, it is very unique and very individual in terms of how they're executing it in this series, but like I said, it can come across as a little bit cheap at points as well. Also, the lead character M.O.D.O.K can be a little bit irritating at points as well, and I know this is a reason why a lot of people just did not want to complete the series, as this really wasn't a character that they could get behind. And also, I think it's really great that they had some Marvel cameo appearances. It would have been great if they had done a little bit more of that, but I know they didn't do too much of it, as they wanted to focus it fully on the M.O.D.O.K character. But all in all, from a storyline point of view, I feel like this series is actually not that bad. So from a casting characters point of view, this is definitely M.O.D.O.K's show. I mean, the clue's in the title, and you really do get to know this character inside out. It's very character-centric, driven from the M.O.D.O.K character, and they don't lie about the fact that this character is very irritating, very self-obsessed, very narcissistic, and pretty deluded at points as well, and he's very hell-bent on trying to take over the world. But also, in addition to that, you really do get to see the other sides of this character as well, especially his family side, his business side, and him being an awful friend and boss as well. So I feel like it's really great that they focus fully on this character, and Patton Oswalt does a really, really good job in bringing this character to life. He also has a little bit of a cameo appearance in the final episode as well, which I think is really, really funny. Next up we have his wife Jodie, who just has enough of this character in the first episode, which results in her wanting to have a bit of a separation from this character, and she goes on a really interesting path herself in terms of wanting to be a successful author, trying to use press and publicity to try to promote her book, going out with another Avenger to try to make M.O.D.O.K really jealous. So this character actually does have her own character-driven path in this series as well. Next up we have Ben Schwartz voicing the character of Lou, who is the son of Jodie and M.O.D.O.K, and Ben Schwartz is obviously very famous most recently for voicing Sonic the Hedgehog, and he does a really good job in voicing the Lou character, who tries to be very individual, tries to be very different, and at first M.O.D.O.K finds this a bit strange, but then he comes to accept it which I think is really, really great as well. Next up, we have the Melissa character, who looks very similar to M.O.D.O.K, and you can see that she wants to be a bit of a super villain character herself. And I think it's really interesting that this character doesn't really like the M.O.D.O.K character, but you can always see that she does always want his approval, which I think is really interesting from a father-daughter point of view. Next up, we have the Monica character, who was a second in command at AIM when M.O.D.O.K was there, but when it gets taken over, she has her own ambitions in trying to be the scientist supreme within the organization. So I feel like this character is really well used in terms of showing the business side of things, showing how people can betray other people and having their own selfish agendas in terms of trying to get to the top. And obviously this character has been used in other Marvel animation productions, so it's really great to see this character again. Next up, we have the Austin character, who is the leader of the rival company Grumble, and he is constantly making M.O.D.O.K's life a living misery. But I thought it was really interesting how when the latter part of the season they were showing that actually there is somebody on top of Austin, which is the living Hexus being, and they are kind of intimidating Austin to try to get him to do everything they want him to do, which then potentially led Austin to try to team up with the M.O.D.O.K character, which I thought was really, really interesting. The other AIM employees, they don't really get into much detail with these characters, but I thought they were really, really funny. I absolutely love the fact that they were showing a rivalry between Iron Man and M.O.D.O.K, and he's constantly seeing this character as the person that he wants to defeat. He absolutely hates all the perfectionism that Tony Stark and Iron Man represent, so I thought the rivalry between these two characters was really, really funny. And then finally, a character that I'm surprised hasn't become bigger within the Marvel Cinematic Universe yet is the Wonder Man character, and they did a really good job in showing how perfect this character is, especially compared to M.O.D.O.K, and when Jodie was actually trying to go out with the Wonder Man character. I thought that all of those scenes were really, really funny, and so from a casting character's point of view overall, I'm surprised to say that actually this series is not that bad. So from a visuals point of view, like I said, this series uses stop motion animation style in a bit of a puppet form in this series, and to be honest, it's not really the best. I mean, it's so much better when they use the traditional animation style for Marvel animation productions. But that being said, you do kind of get used to it. You don't love it, but you are able to get behind it and get used to it as well. I feel like the different locations that they go to in this series are really, really funny as well, such as the Avengers Towers, when they go traveling across time. I think that's really, really interesting. And the most hilarious one I thought was when they have a business away day, and just all of the hilarious business jokes that they were making throughout this series is really, really funny. And so from a visuals point of view, I didn't really like it that much, but like I said, you are able to get behind it in this series. So from a comparison point of view, whilst I didn't hate the M.O.D.O.K series, I definitely prefer the other animations from Marvel Studio Productions, such as the X-Men series, the Spider-Man series, the Guardians of the Galaxy series, the Avengers series. Everything else I much prefer over the M.O.D.O.K series. It is watchable and you do find it funny for what it is, but I feel like from a comparison point of view, everything else is so much stronger than M.O.D.O.K. So overall, I have to say, with Marvel's M.O.D.O.K, I didn't love this series, I didn't hate this series. I think it's definitely in the middle. I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen next with this character. I think it's really good that they focused it fully on the supervillain character so that you really get to know this character inside out, and really balancing it with loads of different attributes in terms of his villainy, in terms of his business, in terms of his family life. I think it would have been better if this was part of its own mini Marvel animation universe, so that you can really get to see this character in a lot more detail and then seeing him interact with other bigger players. But you know, that being said, overall from a series point of view, I have to give it a 4.5 out of 10. I'd love to hear what you think, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.